5:40. Yes. Good.
I saw your face popping.
That's what happens.
Do that again. It was funny.
Hey! Can add in some weird goofy shit.
The first thing I wanted to talk about is the definition of family. I've never questioned the concept of family. It never even occurred to me to question it. And then you did. That's the type of thing I'm talking about when I say we need to go back and revisit some of the things we said.
Yeah.
The definition of family is something that we all need to discuss.
I'll start. My definition of a family is
What does the logo on your shirt mean?
this right here.
Yes.
For me specifically, it means,
I know my family.
did you ever think about what you wanted?
No.
I want to know what you want and what you wanted.
I want you to understand you had difficulty when Papa died just because of
Yes.
the relationship you had with Papa.
Yeah, some things came up for me that I was unaware of. Yeah.
Did you feel the same way when Papi and Mimi died, or?
Honestly,
I started talking about what happened the year when my mother threw me out of the house. That was the beginning of the year. And I didn't finish the story.
what's the next thing you need to clarify that we need to talk about?
The night Tony died, when Papi arrived, he gave me the 3rd degree. My father never said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." My father never hugged me. I was ready to leave. In fact, I went and got my purse and I said, "I'm not putting up with this shit." But the biggest takeaway from that was, do you think talking about this could have set off the chain of events where sciatica became real? And you said,
There's nothing else that is in there that could be cleared up? Because I don't want to come back next week and talk about some shit we could have talked about today and get it out of the way. You said something of like get out from under or whatever. I liked that term. What do we need to get out from under?
so don't get prickly with.
Thank you to all of those who have subscribed recently. That has been a huge boost. Don't think that we haven't noticed. We love the comments. We love the engagement. We love the views. And the thing that helps us the most is every time our subscribers go up, we reach more people and we're able to keep producing higher quality videos. So please, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and let's get on to the show. Welcome to Bear It All, the Kintsugi Chronicles, here on the I Am Not Okay channel, where we gather our broken pieces in search of gold. My name is John Bear. This is MJ Bear. Holly Bear is with us in spirit. She'll be back on ASAP. Today's topic is clarity. We have hit 10 videos or 10 podcasts so far, which is really, really cool. And we've gone back and we have noticed that there are parts of our podcast where we might go off on a tangent, and we want to clear those things up. We want to make sure, one, that we are getting clarity ourselves, and two, you guys understand what it is we're attempting to say and then work on. So, Mom, I know you have a whole list of questions and things that you went back over that you'd really like to clear up. So I'm going to kick it over to you. What are we working on today?
Good morning, John. How are you?
Good morning, Mama. I'm good.
The first thing I wanted to talk about is the definition of family. You said something in one of your videos. Let me think. I forget how you phrased it. But what is a family? How do we know we're a family?
Yeah.
And that bit of the conversation has been gnawing at me. And I finally realized, first of all, I've never questioned the concept of family. It never even occurred to me to question it. And then you did. And then I thought, well, what is a family? I'm not sure I even know. I don't know what your definition is. I don't know what Holly's definition is. And I want to talk to this when you're both here, but I wanted to bring it up for you today, just so you know that's the type of thing I'm talking about when I say we need to go back and revisit some of the things we said.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to, tighten it up a little bit. But again, the definition of family is something that we all need to discuss so that we understand each other. in terms of your definition of family versus Holly versus me.
Well, since you and I are here, I'll start and I can give you my definition. Maybe you give me whatever your working definition is at the moment, and we can have Holly chime in the comments, and then in the next video, she can clear it up as well.
Okay.
How's that?
That's fine.
All right. My definition of a family is being surrounded by people who want to be in your lives, and they show that through action. And they're also people that you choose, not necessarily people that you are born into some environment that you can't get out of or that you are stuck in. So I believe the people in your life that show you they want to be there through their actions, and they're the ones that you've chosen, that's my family. So I have friends and people that don't have my blood, but I don't see them as anything less than my brother or my sister or somebody that I love and care about. And I could say that honestly about all humans, i.e., I do have love for all humans, even the ones that have shit on me. I'm not going to hold that till my grave and let that be something that is poisonous in the back of my mind and manifests in some other way or causes me pain because I don't deal with it. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Okay. Is that
in
anything?
the 21st century? It makes perfect sense.
Okay. Well, yeah, I guess we're in the last video, and I'm editing it, where you and Holly had a conversation. It's not even out yet, but you guys started talking about, you in particular, Mom, were saying something like family is like, I never questioned what family was. You didn't question that, so you said that.
Right.
But now in the here and the now, where people, me in particular and Holly, like, we're questioning how we grew up and why it had to be so challenging, and then creating a new family based off of that. I would say, yeah, in the here and the now, in the last 20 to 30 years, being able to think that way has become more normalized.
You mean for you or for society in general?
Society in general.
Okay.
And maybe you haven't gotten to the point where it's normalized for you yet.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean that you can't.
Exactly.
Well, okay, so what's your definition?
I don't have a definition of family. I never knew that there was anything other than you're born into this group of people, they're your family, good, bad, or indifferent. And you know when you grow up in an abusive atmosphere, abusive people around you, you don't question anything. You're told you're lucky to be here. You're lucky to have what I give you. You know what I mean? You're sad. Oh, let me give you something to be sad about.
I know what you mean because I grew up in it, but let's not keep doing that. Like, I understand what you're saying, but some people don't.
Right. And that's what I'm trying to do here, is to explain to you, I don't have a definition of family because what I grew up in was considered family. Then I married a man, and it was very similar to my upbringing. So we're talking the first 30 years of my life. I didn't know that I could have a voice in my own family because speaking up puts a target on your back in a situation like that. So I don't have a definition yet. And it's been bothering me that I don't. Should I have had a definition?
Okay, well, what isn't a family to you then? If you don't know what a family is, what isn't it? What don't you want? Or what shouldn't be in a family? I don't know if should is the right word.
I don't know. I have to think about it.
Okay. Well, on to the next question.
Well, yeah,
then.
I was trying to glean information from you and Holly because, again, I don't have a definition.
Holly, what do you think is your definition of family?
Okay, next thing.
Next thing, go.
What does the logo on your shirt mean?
This right here?
Yes.
For me specifically, it means B negative. So if you look, there's like the B here and then a little dash, and it looks like a B negative. Our blood type is B negative. Mine, yours, Holly's. As it pertains to this logo and this shirt, I am not okay, be negative, right? Like that's like, we can say our branding or who we are. You can see my face in there, but in reality, then we have the blood over here, which is you and Holly. And what I believe it represents is the part of us that is still in there that we can find and bring light to, and that part of us that was smashed and crushed and had to bleed in order to heal and come back. So it combines the elements of what we've gone through and what we're going to go through.
I love that.
Thank you.
Did you know that when you were creating it?
I don't know if I had that level of clarity about it.
Okay.
It was something that came to me. I mean, quite honestly, this is like also my other persona. Like, if you guys have been here for 10 videos and watching long enough, you've had a chance to see both Johns. Or you've had a chance to see John and be negative. The guy, the reactive guy, the guy with the anger, the guy with the passion, the guy with the stuff, is be negative. The person who is able to talk logically and calm it down a little bit and be a little more coherent is John. What I've learned is John is barely hanging on, and be negative allows John a way to have a voice without John getting crushed by how he actually feels. So if that makes sense, that's what it is to me.
Do you feel like you get crushed by what you feel?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
I feel everything. When a person walks into a room, I know immediately how they feel, what they're carrying. It has been very challenging to find a way to exist in this world being as sensitive as I am. It hurts a lot. It's not anybody's fault. It's how I'm wired. And it is my duty and responsibility, I believe, to not just find a way to survive, also to find a way to maximize my potential. Yes, I'm sensitive and I'm in a world that is not necessarily set up for sensitivity as it stands. That doesn't mean that I can't build a place where sensitivity is seen as a virtue. That's what my gym is here. I listen to people. I really understand where they're coming from. Why are they showing up at my doorstep here in the first place? It's usually not to lose 5 pounds to feel better. It's usually to work through and coalesce their own identity. Most people that have come in here, they haven't done physical work, or they haven't done it in a long time, or it just hasn't been a part of who they are. But what most people don't understand, or seem to understand, what I'm learning, our bodies are tied directly to our mental health. And people show up at my doorstep feeling depressed, feeling bad, feeling fat, feeling pudgy, feeling lethargic, feeling less energetic, not understanding that, like, how they feel, their mental health about it, is tied to how they use their bodies and how they move their bodies and what they put into their bodies, how they take care of it. So for me, it's very important, for one, to, like, I think I said it in one of my videos, but I used to wake up feeling like I was chased all the time, right? Like somebody was just after my ass. Now I wake up and it's me that's pushing myself to my potential. So I changed waking up and feeling scared and somebody coming to get me, and I turned that into, that person that was coming to get you was me. Now I'm here, and now we're going to go do what we're supposed to do in this world and actualize this potential that was really inside of me. And I don't believe I was able to do that as quickly or as soon, because I did not find an environment that allowed me to spread my wings. I didn't necessarily grow up in an environment that allowed me to do that. Talking with Jordan, talking and having, with my couples counselor, Rebecca, like I have a few counselors and I have gone through therapy before, and it's not even just the therapy. My students here too, when I talk to them about what I'm going through, they then talk to me about what they're going through. I have learned through other people, which is why I ask so many questions, who I am. So I ask others, they give me an answer, and if it jives with something inside of me, usually I'm like, oh yeah, that is a part of me, or no, that doesn't resonate with me. Oh, now I know more about who I am. So that's why I'm so damn adamant about talking to people and asking them questions. It allows me to figure out who I am, and I can continue to show up more whole every time I'm in somebody's presence.
Let me ask you another question.
Sure.
It was during your video with you and Holly.
Yeah.
Your video with you and Holly. You both said something to the effect of that you wished mom and dad had been able to just say to you, look, I'm having a bad day. It's not you. I'm having issues at work or with the car or whatever. I just want you to know I'm not mad at you. And you both said that had that happened, you would have at least known it wasn't your fault that we were angry.
Correct.
I know I say this a lot these days, however, the options or the things you wished I had done while you were growing up wasn't something I even knew existed.
We didn't say it because of that.
No, I know. I'm just saying, I'm bringing it up because it hit me. You wanted me to be able to say those things, and I want you to know why I never did. And it's because it never occurred to me to talk to my kids about how I felt. I had been hiding how I feel all my life.
Yeah, but you seem to take it on as if like somehow it would have magically just shown up in your head. You know, we've all talked. You weren't in an environment that allowed this. So
exactly.
I don't,
exactly.
So I get that. So we know why you didn't.
I told you in a video with you and I that I've always known I could be a monster.
Mm-hmm.
I know that about myself. What I didn't say, and what I don't even know if I alluded to it. What I didn't say and what I didn't do, John, is retaliate. I've never retaliated against any of these people. Not my family, not my former husband. Because retaliation to me was always counterproductive. It was never going to achieve what I thought everybody wanted. I know my family,
Did
John.
you ever think about what you wanted?
No.
I want to know what you want and what you wanted.
I want you to understand. Let me put it to you this way. There's lots of times you and I are talking, or Holly and I are talking, and I think in my head, do you know who my father was? Do you know who my mother was?
You're thinking that to us?
No, I'm just thinking it myself. Like you said you would be saying something when you went to the Super Bowl and called Brad on the way home.
That was not the Super Bowl. That was coming home from a mastermind in like June of 2018. It was not the same thing.
I thought you called him coming home from the Super Bowl.
No,
okay,
so.
Whenever it was, you called him.
Okay.
And you told me about it.
Right.
And you said I was upset with you for calling him.
Yeah.
I'm not upset with you for calling him.
You were totally upset with me. You didn't even talk to me for 2 days after I did that. You were so mad at me.
I wasn't mad at you.
Well, what was it?
I was concerned that Brad would not take it in the spirit intended. My concern was that you put your vulnerability out there with Brad.
Yep.
Is it fair to say you had hoped for something in return or no?
No, I was doing that for me,
Okay.
which shows me you don't understand why I did it. I was writing a book. Basically, I was writing shit that if you read the book, then you know what was in it. And I it was a way for me to also be like, you know what? Like, I'm going to write some stuff that isn't super great because it's the truth. But I also want him to know that, like, as much as he did to me, he also was good to me at times too.
That.
And I had historically shit on him and said, like, you fucked up, you hurt me, you did this. And so I took an opportunity really to let myself off the hook for hating him.
Okay.
That's what that phone call was about.
I was concerned that you were going to be let down. That was my only concern.
And if I was, so what? Like, it's something I would have had to have learned. You can't save me from that.
You had difficulty when Papa died just because of the relationship you had with Papa.
Yeah, some things came up for me that I was unaware of. Yeah.
Did you feel the same way when Poppy and Mimi died, or?
Honestly, them didn't care. The hardest part of hearing about when Poppy died was you calling me on the phone, freaking out. I was on my way home from Indiana. I was out.
Both you and Holly were away that weekend.
Oh, okay. Well,
when I learned that Poppy died.
I think it was April of 2016 or 15?
15.
Yeah. Okay. So or May. Well, he died in April, but you found out in May. It was like 6 weeks later because it was Memorial Day.
That's right.
And I was on my way home from Indiana, and I get this call, and Mom, we talked for like 3 hours on the way home. And I had somebody in the car with me who listened to that whole conversation, so she got to hear that, and it was like, not good. So, yeah, it.
What do you mean it was not good?
To hear how upset you were, and all the things that you were feeling at the time, like that didn't feel good to hear that being pointed at, not at me, but like because I answered, I was listening. So it sucked to hear that, and then it made me like fucking hate our family even more. Like not hate, no. It made me understand who my family really was. How's that? And it wasn't the people that didn't tell you about Poppy or Mimi. You know, I think, didn't Poppy apparently he sent you a letter. Don't you have the proof that he wrote down in a letter that he was going to make sure in his will that we were not to be within 2 miles of his whatever, like his memorial service. There was an actual like exacting, like don't be within like a mile of my funeral home or whatever the fuck it was. And I was like, okay, wow, like I won't.
First of all, that letter wasn't for me at all. That was Poppy's ego writing down everything he was pissed off about, because I had the audacity to say, Dad, you've been abusing narcotics all your life. I know that for a fact.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times I've had narcotic pain medication, and my father would say, I'll take that off your hands. When we were kids, he would send Mimi to the doctor to obtain prescriptions for him. He would have his own doctors. And back then, again, we didn't have data collection, so nobody was keeping track of doctor shopping. Have you heard of that? Where you go from doctor to doctor to doctor to get your medications.
Oh, that's what it's called?
It's called doctor shopping.
I didn't know that was a term.
Yeah, see? Poppy was doing that back in the 70s, the 80s. He had one doctor he would go to all the time. But the point is, I knew my father used, I don't want to say he was a drug addict, but he used narcotic medication.
Well, he abused them, yeah.
He abused it, and it was for a legitimate medical reason.
Like he had pain, but
he had, I don't know if there were migraines.
His back or his knee or some shit? Like,
well, first it was his head, then he fractured a few vertebrae.
Oh, all right.
When you were...
Oh, was that me?
Yeah.
When I jumped on him by accident?
Well, he swore you did it.
He swore I was the one that caused the pain?
Yes, that you broke his back.
Oh, okay. Well,
you were a 4-year-old.
Good. I'm glad I was a pain in his fucking ass the whole rest of his life then.
I shouldn't laugh. Why not? Why shouldn't I laugh?
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, my father sent me that letter, and I'm gonna put that up so we can post it. I think people want to see the nitty-gritty. I think they want to know what actually transpired in these relationships.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it. I could say to you, John, my father was abusive to me.
Correct.
And if I never said anything else, you'd have to fill in that blank as to what abuse means.
Yeah, what
right?
occurred? What occurred?
So your definition is different than mine, is different than Holly's, is different than everyone else's.
Well, there's also different kinds of abuse, but yeah.
Right. So if you don't define it, if you don't wrap the context around it, you leave it open-ended. So I want the three of us to also explore that.
Yeah. All right. Well,
And what our definition actually is of abuse.
why don't you start? What's your working definition of abuse? It might be fluid.
Unfairly singling out an individual for punishment that far exceeds the crime. So you're singling somebody out. They haven't necessarily done anything, but you decided they have, and you come up with the worst punishment you can think of for that person simply because you think they did something. They don't take the time and say to you, I heard you did this. Is this true? Nobody ever asks that question. They just make the assumption that they know it's true without ever having spoken to all parties.
There's a lot of things that are left unsaid that get assumed.
Exactly. And in my family, and I know you know this with Brad, you don't have the opportunity to bring this up to your father and say, hey, Dad, you really hurt my feelings. What do you think would have happened if you had said that when you were younger?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't even want to I don't know. I don't care.
I know you don't care, but
I don't know.
doesn't it help
No.
define abuse for you?
No.
What you went through?
Not really.
Well, how do you define abuse?
I just know what it is. I don't know that I have a definition.
Okay.
I know when I feel it. I know when I see it. It's neglect. So I think, physical abuse is very simple. Like putting your hands on somebody in this day and age, like very unnecessary and Cretan, Neanderthal. And people that do that, they don't have my respect. You don't need to hit people. You don't need to touch people. If you can't develop your brain to the point where you can have a conversation and or just walk away and understand your emotions, then fuck you. You're a part of the problem too. And that's what I'm learning here. So when I saw myself on tape acting like an asshole, I'm like, nope, that's not. I can be an asshole, absolutely. In business, absolutely. Like, it's not that I'm ruthless to the point of like, I'm going to run everybody over and get things at all costs. I want to work with you. I want to work with Holly. I want to work with Jeremy and the people here that I'm working with. And I'm very upfront about the standards and the expectations. And clear about those. Or if I'm not, I will communicate and continue to communicate until I feel like we're on the same page. And then from there, we are going to execute. And once we are all moving in the same direction because we want to together, not because I'm whipping you and making you, then I'm going to we'll say the hammer down and make sure that we just live up to what we said we were going to do. So the standard that we're setting here for the podcast, the standard that I set in my gym, I want to work with a certain kind of person. I want to have a certain kind of conversation. I want to be around certain kind of people. Those are my boundaries, and I'm quite ruthless with that because that is what allows me to show up healthy mentally. And I don't want to go out of my way to hurt people. I don't want to have people like question things in their head about me. I would prefer to just clean it up and communicate about it. But some people just don't do that. I didn't used to do that, and now I do it so much and I'm so adamant about it. I probably do put some people on their heels. They're like, man, he's right up front. He knows exactly what he wants. He tells it to me. I don't know if I can handle that shit. Okay, well, I can. So.
Well, what about other people and their expectations? Do you take that into consideration?
Well, you have to, how do you mean?
I mean people you're working with, not people you boss, somebody doesn't work for you.
I don't work, nobody works for me. And nobody's here because they have to be.
Right.
Well, so...
But aren't their expectations part of the equation?
Yeah.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah.
So you'll listen.
That's why they're here. Of course, I'm moving them towards what they say they want. And when you tell me you want something, yes, I'm going to hold you accountable to what you said you want. And the people that are okay with me doing that are the ones that hang around. The ones that don't like that are the ones that just like to talk and not do. That's my line. I am not interested in being around people that just want to talk.
Why would anybody walk in here and think it's a place to talk?
You would be surprised what people think gyms are. Prospective clients and people
your gym
and whatever.
In particular. This gym is not...
But people hear fitness, gym, in their minds, they have what they think it is. And then they show up and my place is not that.
Right.
That creates space and distance. Or they're like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted. Because it's not a gym.
Right. It's not your cookie cutter big box
but
gym.
My messaging on the outside here, and if you go to my website and like how I talk to people on the phone, again, I'm not mean. I am forward. I am to the point, and tell me why you're here. And the people that work with me fucking appreciate that. I am upfront. They know where they stand, and I know where I stand with them. It makes it easier to get the job done then.
Right.
So I have found I want to create an inclusive environment that people are willing and ready to do the work. In fact, this past week, I started with my business coach. I'm doing another program where I'm taking what I do here, and we call it scale, meaning I want to be able to scale this business. And if John was here or you were here teaching a class or somebody else, the experience would be the same. It's like going to a McDonald's in Tokyo and going to a McDonald's here in Fort Washington.
Right.
You're going to get the same burger, right? So how do you do that? You set up the system. So this week I wrote down on paper what I want to be doing in the next 2 to 3 years and who I see in that vision. You're in there, Holly's in there, Jeremy, people in my life. And it might be other people at some point, but it's roles and work that needs to be done. But like, is this like, does this vision excite you? Do you see yourself wanting to do this work? If not, what do you want to, like, what would make you excited to come to work? Once I find that out, or what makes you excited, like I know you're excited to sit here and talk and do these things, even if it's not always fun in the moment. So I want to create a vision where I'm like, Mom, if you read this thing, which I do want you to read it, do you like this? Do you see yourself in this? Would you want to do this? What am I missing? I'll write it in there. Good? You buy into this? Good. That's what I'm holding you to. This standard that we both agreed to in the vision that allows us both to have like a place to be heard. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
That's what I'm working on. So I'm going to create real systems for the bare knuckle strength business. I'm going to create systems for our Bear It All podcast. I'm going to create systems for I Am Not Okay, the website, so that I can plug people in there to have them do the work that I can't do or I'm not able to do or would be better if somebody else did. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
So I believe I actually probably work too much to take everybody else's expectations into consideration, because at the end of the day, once we're in, I want you to be in, and I don't want to have to pull you or coerce you. I want you to be like, hell yeah, John, let's go. This is it. Great. Let's go. Like, no fucking dicking off now. Like, and I'm on a mission in life.
Well, what is it? What will it take for you to accept the fact that I'm here for the long haul?
I mean, I have accepted that.
Okay.
Right. Is there an action that you're looking for?
No. What I'm asking is, are you making this decision based on what you've seen so far?
What to scale and make everything?
Well, I mean, with you and I and the podcast.
Okay, so what I've learned with me and you in the podcast, what you think and what I think is not the same thing. And we have to discuss it, sit down, talk it out. Like when we sitting down to literally get you to use your computer to scan pictures, right? step by step by step, by word, by word, by word. You understand? I understand. We're on the same page. Good, 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 good. That's what it's going to take with me and you, because nobody listened to you and nobody listened to me. That's what I learned this podcast is. So you and I need to tread very carefully in making sure when we show up together, we're listening first. Because I want to hear you and I want you to hear me. And I have learned, now that I know what that feels like, how to do it, and I'm working at becoming more masterful at it, I'm not going to accept less than it. It doesn't mean that I'm going to hate people or push them away. It means that if you don't listen to me, I'm going to not listen to you, and that'll create a gap, and then you'll either fill it or you'll go away. I start off listening now. I do not start off talking.
Okay. Are you feeling okay about it?
About listening?
No, about our podcast. I know I ask you this every time we're together, but I think it's important that we keep our feet on the ground.
Well, I think today, hopefully, I think we need to be more specific now. We've talked a lot about a lot of things.
Right, and we need to wrap context around it.
Yeah.
For example, I started talking about what happened the year when my mother threw me out of the house. That was the beginning of the year. And I didn't finish the story.
Okay.
That was when my parents separated in 1984. So that was the beginning of their horrific divorce and the way they treated each other. But what happened in that moment when my mother threw me out was literally my mother making a decision to cast me out without ever saying, hey, are you picking a side here?
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
My intention was not to pick a side.
Yeah.
They're my parents. But I didn't have the opportunity. So my mother says, oh, you're out on your ear. That was beginning of the year. I want to say February, okay? Now we'll say January.
Okay.
By May, Laura woke up and she was paralyzed from the waist down. It was May. Taken to the hospital. She was first taken to a local hospital and very, very quickly transferred to Hahnemann, air flighted to Hahnemann because of the diagnosis, which was leukemia. Laura, obviously, is my older sister, Tina's twin. So she was diagnosed. She was taken to the hospital, local hospital, diagnosed with a form of leukemia and sent right to Hahnemann. When she got to Hahnemann, the oncologist told my parents that it was he used this word, and I've never forgotten it, the most fulminating case of leukemia he had ever seen. A case that just went from nothing to fatal, tragic, in a matter of 24 hours. There was no chemo to give her at that point, no radiation, no chemo, because her case was so, fulminated, explosive. It was just running rampant. And what happened was that the cancer cells formed around her spine, which is why she was unable to walk. She was paralyzed. So it was this mass
So she went to bed one night,
Yes.
being able to walk, and woke up and could not walk the next day.
That's the way I understand it. I'm telling you this story. It's important.
So you weren't
because,
there? Who found her? What happened?
Well, she lived with Mimi. So Mimi was there. I think Dee Dee moved back home.
Okay.
And she was living there. So Mimi was there. Andrew was there. Took her to the hospital, took her to Hahnemann. And what they said was basically the typical course of chemo and radiation was too much for her body to bear. They had to come up with something different. And they did. They came up with a chemotherapy solution for Laura. And I think she also had radiation. They said she'd never go into remission. They were talking about Laura was going to die within 6 months. And she survived, I think it's 14 or 15 months after her diagnosis.
So it was May of 84 or whatever
Right.
they found her, and it was
she
like
died
August of 85,
August
right?
of 85, right. So however long.
And it's like 12
months, 14 months?
15.
Okay, 15 months. You're right, I wasn't there. The only reason I knew anything was happening was Poppy.
Okay.
Poppy was the only one talking to me. And I need to clarify that very quickly.
Go ahead.
When I say my father was talking to me, I don't mean my father was providing any emotional support to me.
No, he literally said words to you about your sister, but that was probably it, right?
He was telling me about Laura, and anything else he talked about was him and how he's feeling and how he's dealing with this. And
Right.
so it was all about being an emotional support for him, or in between the workday and borough council meetings, he'd stop in and make me dinner, wash my clothes. I was
He would?
Yes,
Poppy would.
yes. Remember, we lived right down the street from the police station, so it was easy for him to pop in and have me cook something for him. And of course...
Wait, you cooked something for him?
Yeah.
Oh, that I just misunderstood that.
Oh, what did you think?
Wow. Fuck him.
That's
what I
was the
think.
de facto maid.
Wow. Fuck him.
Come
He
paint my
cheats
condo.
on his wife and then expects his daughters to fucking prop him up and take care of him as he goes through it, but can't help you guys through the shit or that your sister's sick. Man, fuck him. That's how I feel. Like, every time I hear a story about that guy, what a selfish, narcissistic cunt.
Oh, it gets worse.
Yeah, well, keep going. Might as well get it. Like, don't hold back, because I want to get it all out with him in particular.
Okay.
And then fucking bury him.
The
For
night
real.
Tony died, when my father arrived.
Wait, is there anything else that has to come back? What you were talking about your mom? We literally started on something that you were attempting
What was
to
I
clear
saying?
up, and then we'll come back to
What did I
Poppy.
say? Okay.
About how Mimi kicked you out, and
Oh,
then
right,
like,
the
what were you
timeline.
trying
My
to
mother
tie
kicked
up?
me out
Like,
in the beginning of the year. Laura was
Laura
diagnosed
said-
May.
then Poppy's talking to you. Then
July, I had a miscarriage. I was 5 months pregnant.
all right,
That was another whole awful scene. Nobody knew I was pregnant. I had to have a DNC.
what is that?
It's a procedure where they have to remove any of the
Like
tissue
an
that's not part of your
embryo
body, right? Because it would rot and
Okay.
terrible. So a DNC is just to make sure that there's nothing there that would cause infection.
Yeah.
And I was in the hospital overnight, weirdly enough, after that procedure. It's usually a in and out procedure. I was taken back to my room from surgery. And in my room was my mother and my father waiting for me to come out of surgery.
Okay.
I'm almost crying about it because at the time, my mother and Andrea decided I wasn't allowed to go visit Laura at the hospital.
Okay.
I couldn't go to the hospital when either one of them was there. That was the edict that was sent down to me. So if Mimi was there, I couldn't go. If Dee Dee was there, I couldn't go. And they set up a schedule where one of them was there around the clock.
Yeah. So.
So I didn't get to see Laura. Of course, I would call her and talk to her
Right.
whenever I could, but if they're there, I can't. They threatened me with, they'd have me arrested if I went down to visit Laura. Here's the thing that at the time and even now, my father never said to my mother, "What the hell is wrong with you, Katie? Laura is dying. Let Joe come down and see Laura."
Okay. Yeah.
You know, my
Yep,
father,
yeah.
nothing.
Always thinking about him
And I
Or not
never
you.
even picked up on it.
or not you. Yeah.
But he never said, "Wait a minute, this is wrong.
Yeah.
Let her go see
Yeah. Yeah.
Laura."
Yeah.
So that whole year, I was kept from seeing Laura until she went into remission. And I told you that story, remember? With Jordan? And it had
Why
to
don't
do
you
with your
just-
dad doing something really good?
Did you say that on here yet?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So that was the time when Dad went and got La at Mimi's house and brought her to you guys so you guys could have dinner with her, and he carried her down the stairs, put her in the car, and carried her into the house. See, I hear that and I'm like, okay, you're a human, and redeems you a little bit. And I think that you're less of a cunt when you do things like that. So I need to hear stories like that if they exist about these people.
That was one of the times I believe Brad stood up and said, I'm doing the right thing. He never complained about it.
Okay.
There was nothing negative about it. He said, yep, I'll go get her. I'll do this. He went and picked her up at Mimi's, and he had to carry her up our stairs. We lived on a second-floor apartment.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember vaguely that.
Right.
Yep.
She had a walker.
Right.
She wasn't walking. She was really
and
just,
he just carried her.
Shuffling.
Wow.
And it was
See,
difficult.
that's amazing to me. That makes
amazed
me like
me.
my dad a little bit more
It should.
and hate him a little less.
He did the right thing.
Well,
and I think he did it for the right reason.
okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So that is something Brad did.
Yeah. That
And,
feels better.
yeah, well, it should.
Yeah. Thanks, Dad. Seriously, I'm not being facetious
I know.
asshole. I appreciate that he was able to be present in that moment at least once for somebody else. Yeah, that was
And I
kind of...
do want to say that Laura wanted to come and have dinner with us. She wanted to see me. She wanted to see you. She wanted to see Brad.
Yeah.
And because we weren't allowed to see
Right,
her,
right.
she made the phone call. She came home for a little bit in between
Yeah.
going into remission and then
And then not, yeah.
the last phase.
Yeah.
So all of these things happened in 1 year. This was 1984.
Like, I remember a lot. I remember going to Suburban General and playing Trivial Pursuit with her multiple times in that fucking horrible white fucking room with the fluorescent lighting and everything smelled like death. It was this like distilled, sterilized, pale, pasty, horrible place. That's what I remember. And I remember sitting around this round table. La was in the one corner. You were over here. And I was just picking up pieces or fucking whatever. I wasn't really playing, but I was
No,
just...
you were a baby.
I was just there. I remember the pieces. I remember the little... You put the little pieces in the round thing. Like, I remember doing
right.
all of that. And like, so just... And I wonder if my curiosity about death or my ability to handle it a little better was because I had that so early. And even though I couldn't understand it consciously, there was a time when I started to remember asking you, I was like 5, 6, 7, about death all the time. I remember it. Like, Mom, what happens when you die? Why is this like this? And and maybe kids go through that like morbid curiosity phase, but I wonder if it was kicked off by law and some of that kind of stuff.
You know, it could be, John. And talking about this, do you remember when the Challenger exploded?
See, no, I don't. Did I like make a big deal about it?
Your teacher told me it bothered you.
Did it fucking fuck me up?
Right. I don't know how.
Like,
You were in daycare.
Maybe vaguely. Yeah. Like it
It bothered you.
Yeah.
It was all over the TVs.
Yeah.
And it was being shown, you know, the Challenger exploding in midair.
Was that
over and
1985
over.
or was that 85?
I think it was.
It was right around when La was in the hospital, right?
No, it was after Laura, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, then that was probably
'Cause we were
late
living in our
85 or
house.
86. Okay. All right.
Yeah, and you were in school. And I don't know how you learned about it because I remember being in school myself, and whenever anything happened, teachers didn't tell you what the hell was going on back then.
Well, I guess for you, the big thing would have been JFK getting assassinated, right? Didn't that happen when you were in school?
No, I was only 3.
Oh.
I had just turned 3, by the way.
Oh, well, never mind then.
When
All right.
I thought for a long time in my life that I remembered, I was at home because I was in school then. Mimi and Nana were both upstairs for some reason. And my father came home in the middle of the day.
So that's weird. Yeah.
And then the twins came home. They were supposed to be in school. They were afternoon kindergarten. And I swore I remembered all of this. And now I'm not so sure I did because I was only 3.
Yeah.
They might have told me about what happened.
Yeah.
But I remember my mother and my father and my grandmother in the living room just plastered to the television.
Yeah, there's like sort of indelible marks that are left, but maybe the details are probably a little fuzzy.
Fuzzy. Let me tell you a good story about my father, because there is one.
Okay, please. Thank you for making it this far in our show. If you're feeling overwhelmed, that's okay. Just know that you're not alone, that we're here with you, and we're going to work through this together. If you need some help or assistance, dial 988 or head over to our website, www.imnotok.com. www.imnotok.com for a space where you can breathe. And if you want to send us an email and let us know how you're doing, we can get back to you as soon as we can and make sure that you're on the right path. Now, back to the show. Tell me a good story about him.
During the same period, and Laura was in the hospital, we all had to go down to Hahnemann to be tested as blood marrow donors. They said the only thing that would save Laura was a bone marrow transplant. Mm-hmm. So we all went down. Of course, I went down by myself because...
Right.
So I went down. I made it to Hahnemann fine. I'm a mess by the time I get there. I can't stop crying. And I couldn't even go see Laura because my mother was upstairs. So when I got tested, I came out. I'm upset. I'm not thinking. I don't know where the hell I am. I was, 20 years old? No, I was 23.
85?
I was 23.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how to get home. And I was crying and I wasn't thinking. And I made a left-hand turn from Broad Street onto a street that I didn't see was one way, coming the other way.
Yeah.
And there's a cop on the corner screaming and yelling at me. Rah, rah, rah. And I'm crying. And this guy is just being a horse's ass.
Okay.
He gives me a citation and then tells me how to get the hell out of here. I drove from there right down to the police station.
Right.
Because I was so upset.
Yeah.
If I had been thinking properly, I likely would have never said anything to my father because he always said, you get a ticket, you deal with it because you screwed up.
Gotcha.
So I went there and I told him exactly what happened. Because the citation had been issued, he couldn't have it squashed, right? You got the ticket number, I can't just... So what they do in these situations is my father makes a call to the chief. The chief says to the officer who wrote the citation, don't show up at the hearing. My father went to the hearing with me because I asked for a hearing, and my case was dismissed because the officer wasn't there to testify.
Yeah.
So that's how they get around this when the ticket is already issued. The best course of action is not to issue a ticket. So my father did a good thing there by having the ticket squashed. I'm really surprised that he did it because he always told me he never would. Do you find that?
I mean, kind of redeeming, but not like that story.
Oh, no. No, not like that story.
So, I mean, good for you, Poppy. Not everything you did was cunty. There's not much redeeming about him for me. So I got his wrath firsthand. I'm hearing more about his wrath through you. I saw how he treated people. And if he didn't like you or you were less than, it's like you didn't exist to him. He was very and he was more like, you're going to do it my way, and if you don't, then then I'm going to let you hear it, and then I'm going to cut you out of my life, and then I'm going to make your life harder. Like, he was that kind of guy. I was like...
Vindictive.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, you can't just let people alone, yet then have to bury them too. That's narcissism, bro. And I don't roll with that. So I grew up around those people. I totally have the ability to become that. So yeah, most of my day is spent working on not being a monster. Which is, it used to be so subconscious and patterned that it was easy for me to do. Now it's not easy for me to do because I don't want to do that.
See, I didn't have the courage to fight back then.
I have built the courage. I didn't have it. I built
John,
it.
I didn't have access to anything like that.
Okay.
Nobody did. Or if they did, I didn't know where to find it.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that happened when those police officers showed up at our house
Yeah. Go ahead.
was the fact that they didn't give me any information on shelters or how to protect myself and my children. They just walked out.
What police officer showed up there? What are you talking about?
When they banged on the door, when Brad...
We're combining stories now.
We are.
Yeah, stop.
All right,
Come
go
back to
ahead.
Poppy and Mimi. Like, wrap up the clarity about...
The night Tony died.
No. We're just... 1985, 86, Poppy, ticket, Mimi, clarity, what needs to be wrapped up there. And then we'll go to that.
Laura died.
Laura died.
We held her funeral.
Yeah.
I told you what happened. It was literally a divide between the family.
Yeah.
Half on one side of the casket, half on the other.
Okay.
This faction didn't speak to this faction.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened when Tony died. My family was all the way over on the other side of the room.
Mm-hmm.
Brad's family was all the way on the other side of the room. Nobody said a word to me that day. They were treating me the same way that they had treated me at Laura's funeral. What tripped my trigger was the fact that they were doing it to you and Holly. They were treating you as if you didn't exist.
When Tony died.
When Tony died. They did the same thing to you and Holly when you went to Gigi's funeral and when you went to Jimmy's funeral. And the reason I'm saying this is because there's this pattern of behavior when somebody dies in this family. The vicious abuse comes out in full force. And I've seen it happen over. Now, this is 4 deaths that I've been a party to. I didn't go to Jimmy's. I'm sorry, I didn't go to Gigi's service. I didn't go to Jimmy's service, so I don't know what was said. But I know damn well from what you and Holly have talked about, you were ignored as if you didn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing Jimmy, and I remember at Gigi's funeral, and he wanted to talk to me and see me and whatever, and we didn't make that happen because of who was sort of in between me and him.
Exactly.
And I wasn't, like, I'm the kind of person that would have made a scene if I wanted to see my cousin. I wasn't going to do that at a funeral. So I didn't.
There's a time and a place, absolutely.
Otherwise, I would have gone right over and talked to him and had no problem. And I would have probably pushed them out of the way.
I don't know, did I tell you this, that if my family had treated my children well and they kept doing these things to me, I probably would have stayed in that family. I probably would have let them continue what they were doing because they weren't hurting my kids.
Well, look, it's different when it's like hurting somebody you care about. I don't know that it's easier to suppress things when it's about you. It is challenging to fight back for yourself. It is. I find it as easy or easier to want to, like if somebody was here or I heard somebody recently or somebody comes in and chimes in on some of these comments, like...
oh, that's a good segue.
Yeah, well, one of the first person to talk back was me, right? And I'm not going to let people just say whatever into the wind. This goes back to working with people, being with people in my life, whatever. You're not going to sit around and just talk shit and do hurtful things and think I'm going to be okay with that. I'm going to create a boundary around that. And then if you keep doing it, I'm going to escalate it and I'm going to find a way that doesn't hurt me, that lets you know that I know this isn't going to continue to happen. So we're working on that.
Do you have a particular situation in mind that you're referring to?
No.
No?
I have finally started to put all of that away in its place, like a nice shelf in my head that I don't have to keep fucking taking the shit off and looking at it. It's just in the back of the closet. It's a thing that happened that I can process and then move on from. That's what I've been doing that a lot.
Have you noticed, though, that the most current situation where somebody came in and had something to say and they never did before?
Yeah.
Have you made the connection between that and other people in the family?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Like who?
Somebody who hasn't met you is saying abusive things. It's basically the MO of our family. There's like people that don't really know the whole story that are talking shit.
And it's your generation of people. That's the point I'm trying to make.
I mean, yeah, because mostly my generation is still alive.
Well, my sister's children have participated in some exceptionally abusive
and
conduct.
My dad's children have too. Or at least one of them. Or my dad's brother's children or whatever.
Right. But what you have here is two different sides of the family, the maternal and the paternal.
Yeah.
These kids in my side of the family, Mimi's side of the family,
Yeah.
they don't know me,
Right.
but they all have a very definitive opinion about who I am, what I did, what I didn't do.
Sure.
And it came out very recently on the paternal side, the same thing.
Yeah.
Don't you find that? How did these two weird families link up? Like,
Law of attraction.
isn't that weird?
No, I don't actually. I'm starting to believe maybe there's no coincidences. Maybe we were supposed to go through all this and we're supposed to build something out of it. It's horrible to think that way. What else should I think?
I don't know, because I think, or I thought, when all of this is going on, again, I'm the catalyst. It's so difficult to break some of these habits,
Yeah.
don't you think?
Yes. It's like learning new habits as an adult, habits that we can and should have been installed and instilled as kids. Yeah. Why do you think so many people take their own lives or are fucking on medication the rest of their lives or just ignore everything and are basically like adult children that rage when they get pissed off and upset? We don't have a playbook, a guide. Like, who the fuck is talking about dealing with, processing, learning from, and then installing new habits after trauma? Like, nobody. Like, fucking nobody.
I love the idea that we're working together, because all of this, it didn't occur in a vacuum. Each individual in this family has been subjected to abuse. But your abuse and Holly's abuse and my abuse and their abuse, it didn't happen in a vacuum. Everybody was aware it was happening. And nobody did anything.
Because they think it was normal. It's normal for them. So you pass it on. Like, I get what you're saying. We look at it and we're like, no, that shit ain't normal. But like, when you grow up with it, or you feel like you have no other choice, or you got hit when you didn't hit somebody else, you don't think about it. You just do it. That shit is horrible, man. And that's insidious. Because it creeps in. And then, yeah, you can't bring it out. Hey, Dad, man, like, you're hurting my feelings. Fuck you, John. I don't care. Like, so no, I didn't. I guess what allowed me to start pushing back against Dad, I think, and I said it earlier in one of the videos, was like you leaving him. On some level, it was like, you said, no, you're not going to do that to me anymore, Brad. I saw that, and I was like, and then I remember the one time, it was funny, because like, I was like 7 or 8 years old. I was tying my shoes. Dad was I think he was getting me ready to like go see Poppy or something, because I don't know, you got to go see your mother and like your grandfather, whatever the fuck, going somewhere. And I was pissed off at Poppy, and I got so mad, and I was like, fuck him. I was like 8.
Holy shit.
Not only did Dad not hit me or yell at me, he congratulated me. He's like, yeah, that's right, John. Fuck him.
Unless Brad needs him.
Well, so what I learned in that moment was it's okay to say those certain kind of words if it's serving to somebody else, but I get hit if it's not. That's how I learned how to use those words. So I found that fascinating when I started like digging into that as an adult. Yeah, that stuff. So hold on. I'm going to go back to Laura, not what happened to her. Mm-hmm. I just want to talk about her.
Okay.
I have a theory that came to me recently, and I want to see what you think about it. I wonder if her cancer was her repressed homosexuality.
I think it absolutely could have been. I'm of the same opinion. I think Laura was gay.
She knew who she was from the beginning and knew that she couldn't be that person in that family and stuffed it.
I think you're absolutely right about that.
Or at least, can somebody prove me wrong? Because the more I think about it, she's 24 or 23. And now, in the here and the now, and I'm hearing cancer doctors say things like, it is very plausible that an emotional episode that has not been processed, cleared up, or held onto can manifest itself in your cells and tissues negatively, i.e., you're literally swallowing pain. And it shows up
in your heart.
As a way. So if you don't deal with it by processing it and facing it, you will have to when you get cancer.
No, I meant in your heart where...
Well, I know what you mean, but yes. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying?
John, I absolutely believe that.
Literally,
and
people
I believed
choking
that
on their
for
truth.
Years. Yeah.
And it's showing up as cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, no more. I believe part of Holly's autoimmune stuff is choking on things that she hasn't talked about or dealt with.
Oh, mine too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure of that.
So, and that, just a theory, but I see too many commonalities with her and some of the other people and some of the things that she's going through. Plus, as much as Holly tries to sit here and tell me that she's okay.
You know your baby sister.
Then why does she feel like she has to be so tough and say that when that's like not necessarily.
When you're in turmoil and you don't necessarily want to talk about it either? Or maybe she's afraid that you'll think less of her? I guess we should ask her when she's here, but
yeah,
I think there could be a variety of reasons.
I think she's alive, she makes money, and she has 2 great kids. So if that's her definition of okay, sure. I understand how she feels, and I will not dismiss that. I am not convinced. That's all.
Okay, that's fair. I think that's fair.
Okay? You know, like I see some things that she does habitually that are, let's just say like like she drinks those big caffeine things from Wawa all the time, right? Those drinks that she gets from Wawa. I believe she would tell me she needs that to get through her days.
Do you really believe she needs that?
I don't believe she needs it. I believe she might tell me she needs it. Maybe she doesn't, but I think like
when
things
I get
like
a
that.
cup of coffee, it's because, I really want a cup of coffee, not, I need a cup of coffee.
Okay. Hey, Holly, could you go a month without that thing?
No.
Okay. That's an addiction. That's an issue.
Oh, yeah. Caffeine's addictive.
So those are things. And look, I use caffeine. I've used marijuana. I've used psilocybin. I've used things psychoactively. I can also not use those things. In fact, for the next at least week, if not month, I do like tolerance tests and tolerance points. And I don't want to be beholden to anything or need anything. I want to use things if they can help me be productive or show up and be present. But I don't want to use things to regulate my emotions. I want to do that.
Right.
And then I want to use a thing if it actually helps me with something. And so I'm curious if, we're going to
ask her.
Could you go a week without coffee?
Yes, I could. I have.
Okay.
I have plenty.
That's fair. So you at least have the knowledge and experience of what it feels like.
Yes.
And I believe that you don't need it. So
I love the way coffee tastes.
that you always have said that.
Right?
So for you,
and that's always been true.
and
for
maybe
me.
it is for her. I haven't asked her about coffee. Every time I've seen her, she has this big cup of
Yeah, you're right.
with creamer and whatever, and I'm just curious: could she not use that for a while? That's all.
When you and Holly had your tiff, and you told her to leave.
Yep.
I was looking at that situation through my own experience. And 2 things hit me about it. One is, I've never had that feeling from my sisters that they had my back ever under any circumstances.
Okay.
And I also realized, she said, we knew we'd come back together. We would talk about this. We know that about each other. And I'm looking at this again. I'm looking at it through my lens of what I would have felt in that situation.
Yeah.
And I was beside myself, upset.
Yeah.
Because to me, when something like that happens in my family, that meant another fracture. It meant a catastrophic ending to something. It wouldn't have meant we need space and we'll come back together and discuss it. I never felt like that with my family. Not just my sisters, with anybody in my family.
That sucks, Mom. I'm sorry
It
you
does
felt that
suck.
way. Yeah, that sucks.
But the point is, your relationship with Holly doesn't mirror these relationships I had.
Correct.
So somewhere along the line, you got the message.
I mean, look, Holly, and I made Holly say it in our podcast, but like, Dad, he used to say it a lot. You three will be all you have.
Right, I've said it too, and it's true.
And you definitely did as well. So I think we believed that, and we took that to heart. So that was...
And I never knew it was an option. Oh, that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
There are plenty of things that, again, you guys thought if I could have said, I'm having a bad day or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That was never an option for me.
We know.
But I'd like to believe that if the option were made available to me then, that I would have taken it.
Mm-hmm.
So do you agree with that? Do you think?
Do I believe you would have?
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I believe you showed that you wanted to at least kind of get on the same page as your sisters when Tony died. You wanted to attempt it. And when I left that situation, you were still like, hold on, maybe there's something here. And I just felt I needed the space, I think. So that's why I did what I did. So it took you a while with your family, like it's taken me a while with Dad and Kevin and the rest of everybody else in my family. It's like, I'm not telling them to go away. They're choosing to like stay away. Mm-hmm. I offered Brent to come and have a conversation here.
That's right, you did.
And in one message, he said, I might do that. And then in another message, he said, you're quite literally a psychopath. And the last thing I would want to do is talk to you. So I don't really know where he's at. If they've seen this, which, yeah, I hope they do. I'd love to have a conversation with everybody. I really would.
I get the feeling that we're looked upon as
whistleblowers.
lesser babka.
We're whistleblowers. We're talking about things that for however fucking long are both sides of our family. Don't tell them, don't tell this, don't do this, don't speak, don't say these things.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about them. Like, I'm not out here like making t-shirts being like, Brad Bear is like this fucking horrible person and whatever. Like, I don't care that. I really want to, I don't want to slander. I want to say what's real. And I really don't want to talk about people. Like, that's not good etiquette. I want to talk about the situation that we went through.
Exactly.
And if one of those people was in the situation, let's bring up the fact of that.
It's
and then
unavoidable.
discuss the facts.
It's unavoidable.
And work through. And the evidence that I have now shows me that the sides of our family that could or want to, at least right now, they're not ready to sit in the fire and process and deal. So we move on. We move forward. We'll keep going. I do. The more I talk with you, the more I talk with Holly, the more confident I am in everything that I'm doing because I actually feel like somebody is finally listening to me. And quite frankly, I realized I was like begging people to like, please listen to me. Now I'm like, if you don't listen, good, fine. I know. That's where our relationship ends. Like, I'm not going to tolerate people who aren't willing to put in the same amount of effort that I do. Like, that doesn't jive with me. And I realized that I think I grew up, I don't know if it was like a people pleaser, but it was attempting to get attention because I'm not the most agreeable person.
No.
I can be quite disagreeable.
You can be very prickly.
And I can also not be.
You're Cactus John.
Sometimes. Sometimes I'm not. Actually, funny segue. We were in class the other day, and I was asking, we were talking about like energy drinks, and something came up, and I was like, I wonder what like my drink would be. What would John's drink would be?
If you were poured into a cup?
And one of my clients, without missing a beat, she whips around and she's like, well, it'd probably start off a little bit salty, be really bold in the middle, and a tiny hint of sweetness at the end. And I kind of looked at her and I was like, that sounds like a good fucking drink right there.
Make it happen. Make it happen.
Let's do this.
Blend it up.
So, yeah, you know what? You don't get my sweetness off the bat anymore. Like, you earn my sweetness.
See, and I was raised to be, here's how I was raised.
And it's not that I'm not unkind. I'm just to the point.
I couldn't even be not unkind, but low energy. If I was introduced to somebody new and I was low energy, I didn't really want to be there, and I showed it in my mannerisms, I would have gotten a look. And the look meant, you've faced down a cop before, right? Mm-hmm. You know the look I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Standing there with the knees straight and locked, arms crossed across the chest. My father would always pull the brim of his hat down, just enough so that he couldn't see you, and he'd have to tilt his head back and look down his nose at you. Mm-hmm. That was the other thing I wanted to talk about. I have mannerisms of both my mother and my father.
How did you not know that?
Because I've never seen myself be myself before.
You mean like, so the video, you're just watching videos and you see, oh, Poppy did that, Mimi did that.
The way I say some words, or the way my facial expression, or things that I do with my hand.
Yeah.
I have mannerisms of both my parents.
I do too.
And you knew that.
I did.
I didn't know that.
I don't know, Mom. You haven't been super self-aware of you, and
No, I've been trying to erase me. What, are you kidding?
Yeah, well, I don't know that I believe that that's the best option now. That didn't work.
No, but again, I could never be small enough in life.
I hear you, and I understand that you're still working through the entanglement of that. Just understand that, like, it's a decision you can make to not continue to go back there. That's
right, I have to understand it all. That's the problem.
That's fine. And if you need to talk it out and do that more, well then, sure, me and Holly can be some of that, but I also be with real humans. Hey guys, my mom has pretty much hated herself her whole life, and now she's learning, she is figuring out that she doesn't want to do that. Did you ever hate yourself? Did you go through anything like this did your parents tell you or force you or submiss you into being somebody that ultimately you were not? Can you comment on that, or just let us know somehow, so that, because me sitting here telling my mom that she can make a decision and her not making the decision, she needs more evidence to show that other people have gone through a similar thing and have at least wanted to get on the other side of it. So if you're out there, please, now is the time. We need to start talking about these things. What do you need to feel safe about talking about it? Maybe that would be helpful if you drop that in the comments. But it is time for everybody to move beyond childhood programming that was not installed by you. My mom included.
I think my virus protection is about 45 years out of date.
Your virus protection?
Yeah. My motherboard is all screwed up.
Yeah, I believe we need MJ 2.0. There needs to be an upgrade of the software. You know what I'm saying? We can work on the hardware here. You know, you got a new heart, you got a new valve in the heart and a pacemaker, and all those things are working, and we're going to start getting your body in shape, right? And your body in shape influences your mind in shape. Those things work together. They really do.
A lot of it isn't processed.
Okay.
Because I never spoke about it.
Yeah.
A lot of it's only lived inside of me. And I think I'm finding that as we're talking about these things, or you're listening to me talk about these things, that I've never gotten them out. They're in me. I need to get them out of me.
Well, we are here for clarity today. Of all the things that we have already talked about.
Not all, because we'll never get to all, but...
Of all the things we have already talked about in the podcasts, one of them being like Mimi and Laura that you kind of clarified and brought up today, that how I was treated and Holly was treated at our funerals is kind of how you were treated at Laura's funeral, and how that has progressed to the next generation of our family and is continuing. And that was the kind of the clarity that we wanted to...
and we've learned that it's happening on the maternal and the paternal side.
It is happening on both sides.
Yeah, that was the other thing. It never occurred to me to apply my checklist of should this person be in my life or not, the one I applied to my family. If you did anything to hurt my family, I don't want anything to do with you. If you maintain a relationship with anyone, I don't want anything to do with you. I didn't apply that checklist to Brad's family. Because from the time I left my husband until you got the first message, none of these people ever spoke to me. So when Brent did, I thought he was being honest or curious or interested. He said he would.
Well, his first couple of responses seemed amicable. The last few seemed...
Oh, yeah, and then he got prickly.
Which...
And told you were a psychopath and that I should keep telling myself anything I need to wake up every morning and not feel awful about myself.
Yeah. And that, our podcast is interesting, which it is. Thanks, man. We appreciate you watching.
But that's interesting that the same approach is happening on either side of this family. Like, Hillary is the cheerleader at this point.
We haven't heard anything from her in whenever it was, 6 years, when she asked for those pictures. So,
she told Holly.
Recently? Like in the last 4 to 5 years? She's talked to Holly?
She told Holly that Mimi had a right to meet a great-grandchild.
This is what I'm talking about. This is in the last 5, 6 years. Like, we haven't heard from her since then. So,
okay. You will.
Okay. So, we'll deal with it then.
Okay. Well, I just want you to be prepared that the big question of these relationships is when it's over, when's it over, when's it over? When can I take a deep breath? When is it over?
When is what over?
These people trying to...
It's not going to be
derail
over.
Your life. Right.
Well,
it's
over in my head, so I'm not going to let them have that power over me. I don't care. They're not here. Move on. Move on. What do you need to move on?
I don't know. I need to get this out of me. That's what I need.
What else do you need to get out?
I mean, all of it. I'm just not today. I'm just saying.
Well, there
are many things
What's
that
the
happen.
next thing you need to clarify that we need to talk about?
The night Tony died.
Okay, yes, we were talking about this and with Poppy. So here we go.
When Poppy arrived, he gave me the 3rd degree. My father never said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." My father never hugged me. I was ready to leave. In fact, I went and got my purse and I said, "I'm not putting up with this shit."
Okay.
With my father.
What did he say to you? Like, what, the 3rd degree? What specifically?
The 3rd degree. What happened? What's wrong with you? Blah, blah, that kind of thing. I can't remember everything he said. The point is, he was standing there, Mr. Cop, arms folded, telling me
that I was... Nothing emotional, nothing...
Oh, no emotional support whatsoever. And when my father left that night, I was in the parking lot, over by the dumpster in Mimi's parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
He backed up his car, and he backed up to me and rolled down the window, and he said, "Knock off the crying. Your children need you."
All right. God, he must have been beaten as a kid or something.
Oh,
like, did they keep him like outside in a doghouse?
Oh yeah, it was brutal growing up.
Okay.
And my father would tell us he was abused without telling us he was abused, but you had to pay attention to what he was saying.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he would say things like, "Oh yeah, my mother always cracked me over the head with a frying pan." Not Teflon frying pan. I'm talking about cast iron. I don't think he was joking.
Yeah.
That was my father saying my mother abused me, but he couldn't say it to anybody because now he's the chief of police. Who's he going to say my mom beat me? He and his mother always had issues.
And where does that abuse go when you can't like do anything about it?
You become a cop.
Or you take it out on others?
Yes. So anyway, there's my father telling me my children need me. And I did pretty much stop crying until after Tony's service. But the biggest takeaway from that was, I'm his kid, and I needed emotional support.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes, you did.
Those are the kind of situations that really knock you down more than a peg or two.
It takes away any sense of stability that you could ever have, inside or out. Nobody cared enough about you to let you or acknowledge your pain. Nobody cared. That's fucking horrendous. And I'm sorry that you had to go through that.
Thank you.
Alone. That yeah, that's heavy.
And that's just one incident I'm trying to get out from under. And again, these things have been living in me all this time. I never knew I could talk to anyone about them. I went to counseling, but it never got this deep. Back when I was going to counseling, I don't even think...
It was kind of superficial. And
yeah, I don't even think the concept of dysfunctional, abusive families was part of mental health counseling then. It was more or less, well, divorce the guy that's beating you up and move on with your life kind of thing. It's not that easy. A lot of people say, why did you stay? Why did you let him do this? Why did you let him do that? Because I didn't know what else to do.
well, it also, abuse was normal to you.
Well, yeah, that's true.
You know, Dr. Ramani talks about how like you could be around narcissists all the time and they do shitty, horrible fucking things. And then they do like one nice thing, like go pick up your sister and carry her down the stairs and bring her home because she's paralyzed and she can have dinner with you. And you remember that and you say, oh my gosh, they love me. And you hold on to that and keep hoping for that.
That's so weird you said that.
Right? Because you have evidence that it wasn't all horrible, but most of it was horrible. Poppy, probably similar. 30 horrible things or 29 days of horrible things, and then, hey, Joe, I got this thing for you, or whatever. I don't know. Maybe he did something kind. I don't know, you know?
I got that ticket fixed for me.
There you go. You know? If that's the one story you have, at least you have one story. But that one story was your subconscious was holding on to that too. Remember we talk about our body and our brain are designed to keep us safe.
Other one, yes.
Right. So go.
We were talking about sciatica. Remember I looked at you and I said,
yeah.
Do you think talking about this could have set off the chain of events where sciatica became real? And you said, yes. Remember?
Well, it's similar to was Laura's illness repressed homosexuality? Yes, I believe. Yes. Mm-hmm.
The point I'm trying to make with this one is, I said to you, I don't know why I didn't put this together. Like I didn't even think about it. And I've been thinking about it ever since. And I think to me is, I feel like the physical manifestations of the family life and all that went with it was my cardiac surgery and the gut thing and everything. So in my mind, okay, I dealt with the physical manifestations, right? If anything was going to happen, it would happen then, right?
Maybe.
That's how I felt. That's how I'm like, okay, I'm over this. I didn't consider that us talking about these things and how heavy they get would be affecting me in the same way.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't make the connection.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I've never really talked about these things before.
And it's not the same, like a physical thing and a emotional thing. Talking more emotional, opening up that space. Physical, just kind of, okay, I got through it, whatever. Like, but they connect. They connect.
I did not put that together.
Yeah.
How the hell did I miss that?
I think if you take a step back and look at where you were, you can see that. We'll call it that trauma brain, that whatever, that like.
What is the trauma brain? I need to look into that more.
I don't even know if that's like the right term.
Okay.
That's just what I use.
Okay.
So I've given you the book, and I would like you to read it. The Body Keeps the Score.
Right.
There are scans in there. They show you pictures of scans of what a healthy brain looks like processing. Like, they'll put like little nodes on your head, right? And then ask you about something that happened that might be horrible for you.
And then record what's going on in your brain?
And then record what's going on in your brain. And then they'll ask somebody who hasn't had anything horrible, just like they can scan a healthy brain and see how a person who can respond seemingly not overly emotional or not shutting down, what does that look like on a brain scan? I.e., like if you have this whole circle, the whole circle's lit up because your whole brain is being used. In a trauma brain, it's either the right or the left side of your brain is completely turned off. It looks in the little circle like only half of your brain is working.
I believe that.
That's what I mean is that literally like when you're hit, when you're told you're less than, when you believe it, your body starts to shut down parts of you or take away access to keep you safe and alive. Talking about this stuff, how hard it is, body doesn't want to let it out. So sometimes creating the safety of a camera could be the thing. Sometimes it's taking a substance because thinking about and talking about is so horrible that you can't even get beyond the feeling of it. The substance or the medicine might tamp down the emotional feeling so that you can cognitively bring up the thing and talk about it without it re-traumatizing you.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, and that would...
Because talking about this can re-traumatize you if we don't know where to put it. That's when I say, like, put it on the shelf. I was just taking it out and then spinning it around my head.
So when
you probably just stuffed it in your body and are like, nope, it's going to stay there.
And there's layers of it.
And there's layers.
It's a geological quagmire.
And it is not something that science has 100% figured out. It's not something that...
Do you think they ever will? Do you think we'll ever understand human beings?
Completely and fully?
Yeah.
Not in our lifetime.
No, okay, I don't think in our lifetime either, but do you see it happening at any point in the future? Do you see humans?
What I believe and I see humans can get to, not so much a complete understanding of humans, but a complete understanding of being human. You have a brain, you've gone through things, they deserve to be acknowledged and heard, talked about. The exercise, the work that you put on your body, you deserve to have the space to do that so that you can work through these things. That's being human. So I believe that's what my life goal is. And I have chosen work that I believe will have to live on past me, which is why I want to create scale and I want to make something that I can literally leave this book behind and Macklin has it and Marshall has it or whoever's behind, and then they're like, cool, Uncle John's left us this, we know how to run it, and then we're going to make it in our image. But
it's a syllabus.
The work is, I am done. Mom, I had a friend of Tony reach out to me on Instagram recently, and we were just talking about one of Tony's mutual friends, Daryl. Remember Daryl?
Yes, I remember Daryl.
So Daryl is no longer with us. Well, Tony's friend and another friend they were talking to thought that was all a rumor. Yeah. They didn't even realize he was gone or anything like that. And so, talking, this is 6 or 7 years after Daryl's been gone, and he was like, man, I thought it was a rumor.
Oh, no.
Literally, people aren't even talking about people not being here anymore. This is why we or somebody needs to talk. And I am done. So I'm creating space everywhere for humans to be human. Motherfuckers, you have a body, you have a brain, you have a responsibility to understand how they work together. That is what I believe. I believe I can assist you through the experience that I've had doing this so far, kind of connecting my brain and my body, but this is the work, and we need to talk about it for the rest of our lives. And I don't know that that will be complete by the time I'm out of here. I still believe I have another 80 to 100 years left, which is crazy.
And you have no idea what technology will be in the next 20 years.
Correct.
Right?
I don't.
None of us do,
But
really.
I have set myself a goal of living to 125. I said it on one of the podcasts. It might even be more. I see people now, one guy online, he literally just said in his post this morning, he's like, I want to live to be 200. And I want to create proper biomechanics in my body, and I want to create great mental health. But people are thinking they can live this long, which means I believe that it can happen. And belief, whether you believe it or not, actually, there's some studies that are starting to show that like if you had a painful thing happen to you, but then you believe that you have worked through it, the pain can dissipate and stop. But there are people, and we know them, that went through a painful thing, and maybe it was a physical painful thing, that they had real soft tissue damage, but now that thing has been healed for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, but they're still in chronic pain because they believe they're in pain. They haven't worked through the mental part of it. And you can believe yourself into or believe yourself out of a lot.
Do you think that our brain lies to us?
No, I believe it's designed to keep us safe. And we have to learn that the thought that comes up is attempting to keep us safe. And then we question that thought. Why is this trying to keep me safe? Why does my brain keep telling me that person's bad? Or why do I get resentful when I'm around this person? Or why do I get prickly when I'm around my mom and she asks me a certain question? Those are the things that I'm doing in my head, the work. Questioning the questions that my brain is throwing at me and my body. Really, it's a combination of your brain and body. We're like a big antenna. You go through life and you sense something, your brain is going to thought, what, something just happened, a shift, emotional, or you're around a big person, or you see an animal far off in the distance, you start to until you feel you're safe, you're not. And your body knows that you're in a predicament. And it starts to shut down rational thought so that you can flight the scene and get out of there to be safe. Well, thinking about Poppy hitting you, thinking about Mimi telling you to get the fuck out, does that feel good?
No, it never feels good.
Yeah. So your body is not going to let you access that until it could feel safe. Maybe the camera, maybe Jordan. You use Mary Jane sometimes. I believe there is a time and a place for things. There was a time in my life where I was so out of control and so 19, 20, 21, 22, where when I would use marijuana, I was actually more productive. I was actually kinder. I actually seemed like I was okay. Because instead of my head spinning around on this thought all the time, it stopped the madness. And I thought I had more clarity, or at least it gave me an opportunity and a window of clarity. And I start thinking, what do I want to do with this? Not that. And I start working towards what I wanted. So I had found a way inadvertently to use medicine, plant medicine or whatever, to give myself clarity to go be productive. Mm-hmm. Now what I'm doing, that I'm starting to get a handle on what that feels like, is peeling away using the substance and leaning into the true emotion and feeling inside my body, i.e. thinking okay, I didn't smoke marijuana today. I didn't have a drink of alcohol, which I don't really do. I didn't take a microdose of mushrooms. I didn't use caffeine to get me focused. What am I really feeling now that I haven't used any of those things? And give myself more evidence now. Can I be as clear here without those things? And then maybe once I can generate my own clarity without substances, can I use a substance to open up another window to go
pathway.
further?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I've been doing. So for a long time, yeah, probably self-medicating. Now the medication is like proper food, sleep, movement, strength training, those things, feeding myself that on a consistent. What does that do for my mental? And then from there, be super clear. And then if I want, and I want to be focused or I want to use something to enhance what I'm doing, then I can. And that way, because my number one value in life, or the thing that I believe is most important to me, probably because of the way I grew up, is freedom. It's not family. It's not love. It's not even health first. It's freedom.
Freedom from what?
Everything.
What else you got?
I don't have anything. This was your day, so.
I think we've gone pretty far. What
There's
do you
nothing
think?
else that is in there that could be cleared up? Because I don't want to come back next week and talk about some shit we could have talked about today and get it out of the way. I want to, you said something of like get out from under or whatever. I liked that term. What do we need to get out from under?
Oh, you and Holly were saying you wish you could instill in me the fact that I'm not a bad mother, or that other people thought I was a bad mother.
I think we talked a little bit about this today, but it's also like you have to make the decision of that. Yeah. And I don't know that maybe she said that. I don't know that I said, I wish we could tell mom that she's a good mom. Like you can't tell somebody that.
Well, it was something to that effect. And I wanted to say this, and I know I said it when we were in counseling with Joan that far back. When it comes to being a mother, only 3 people in this world have the right to tell me I'm a bad mother.
Yeah.
And that's the people to whom I gave birth.
Mm-hmm.
No one else, John, has ever shaken my confidence in myself
Okay.
as a mom.
Yeah.
It's the only area of my life where nobody can put me down except my children.
It was at the end of the last podcast where I
Yeah.
asked Holly, what would you say to 20-year-old mom? And then why don't you ask her why she said that?
I will, but I just wanted you to know that, and I know I said it when I was with Joan, that no, when it comes to being a mom, I don't give a damn what anyone has to say.
Like, did other people
Other than my children.
Did other people other than me, Tony, and Holly say you were a bad mom?
Well, recently, yes.
Who?
Brent.
Okay. Do you believe him?
No.
Good.
But that's the point. I don't want you and Holly to think I've gone through life believing I'm a bad mom. I haven't.
I don't. That's what she would have said to the 20-year-old you.
Okay. I just wanted to clear it up.
Cool.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't be here if I thought you were a bad mom, especially doing all this work.
Oh, I wanted to just touch on the situation where we discussed the traffic stop.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, this is what made me realize these things live inside of me.
The traffic stop where Bruce got pulled over
Yes.
driving your car
Yes.
without a license
Yes.
in Hatfield, and Dad was across the street.
I want to clear that up.
Go ahead.
When I said your father was across the street, I didn't mean to imply that he pulled into a parking spot and was looking through the windshield.
Okay.
When I said Brad was across the street, he was out of the car, sitting on the bumper, waiting for this to happen. Okay?
Okay.
And as it was happening, he's trying to poke the bear. He's yelling at me from across the street.
As you were being talked to by the cop?
Yes. And I'm yelling back, and the cops tell me, shut up, I'm going to give you a citation. Because I'm like, he ambushes me.
When was this? Like 1990? 91?
Yes, 1990. Yes, 1990. So he's there, he's poking the bear, he's yelling at me from across the street. Me, I'm like, up yours, and I started yelling back. And the cop said, shut up, you kind of thing. But what I wanted to clear up was, yes, Brad was there, but he was out of the car, had his big, what the hell is that thing called? Big gulp?
Oh, like Holly has hers? Yeah.
Right. It was like he was waiting for a drive-in movie to start.
Mm-hmm. Just having a popcorn?
Right. And the other thing I wanted to say that I didn't say.
But what was the point of clearing that up? Like, we knew that he was there. Why did saying that he was outside the car?
Because I think it makes a difference when you're looking at the full context of a situation. Me saying Brad was there would imply that, yeah, he's sitting in his car.
But I guess I mean, it makes him look worse that he was sitting outside of his car, like, and knew it would happen.
Right.
But, like, is that the point you're trying to make?
Yes.
Okay.
The other point I'm trying to make is the fact that when I said, the police officer said to Bruce, get your license situation straightened out, you drive and everything will be fine. What does everything will be fine mean to you when I said that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
The reason I said everything will be fine is because no citation was issued. And I didn't make that clear to you.
So he pulled you over, said, hey, let me look at your license, then said your license is suspended, but didn't give you a citation for that, and then just said, hey, go get your license and everything will be okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I looked up the laws in this state.
Right.
That's a,
It's illegal to pull somebody over and not give a citation?
no, but if you're caught driving on a suspended license, you would be subjected to, this is today's money, $500 to $1,000 fine.
Okay.
And you could be subjected to jail time.
So they didn't even do that then?
Just bypassed all of it. He's on a suspended license. What police officer would not write that citation?
Yeah, even if somebody called it in, why wouldn't you do that? I don't know. Yeah. Why do you think?
Because writing a citation, I told you at the beginning of this
Makes
podcast.
it look real?
Not makes it look
it's
real.
It's on record.
You write that ticket, it has to be filed.
And then you can go back and use it as evidence?
Yeah, then I can go. If I had gone to Hatfield Police and said, hey, this officer did this, and blah, 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 and they'll say, we don't have any record of that. The call didn't come in from dispatch.
Right.
So there's no dispatch record.
Okay.
And the reason I wanted to discuss this, you said, I think my father set this up. And I want to set the record straight. I know my father set it up, John. Who do you think I learned how to investigate?
I think Poppy set it up? I said that?
No, you said, I thought Poppy set it up.
Like you?
Yeah, me. I don't think he set it up. I know he set it up.
Okay.
I want you to understand that when I talk about these things, I'm not talking out of my ass. I already said that.
What do you get by saying, like, having me understand that Poppy set it up?
Because
What does that do for you?
accuracy for me.
Does it make you feel better, though?
Yes.
Okay. Because I'm willing to tolerate it for that, but otherwise, like...
No, I don't want you to do anything about it. But in terms of context, John, it makes a difference.
All right. So it's nuance.
Exactly. And that's who I am. Details,
I
to
know,
me,
your dad was a detective, so you are too. Great.
I can't help it.
Well,
So don't get prickly with me.
I'm not getting prickly with you.
Okay.
All right.
Being accurate is what's important to me.
That's fair. Yeah.
I've never looked at it as being, I have to be right,
Yeah.
but I have to be accurate.
Sure.
And I want you to have the details. Someday it may come up. I don't know. But I don't want you to think, I think my father did this versus I know my father did this.
After we had that conversation, I didn't think about it at all. So I think it was you that was thinking about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then, is it cleared up to where you can, like, let it go now?
Well, it's cleared up, yes.
All right. Fair enough. Anything else?
Nope.
Right in that spot?
I'm good.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for making it this far, watching. Hopefully, we've created and or added some clarity to some of the things that we've talked about. Seriously, if there's anything that you've gone through similar or parallel to this, like, would you, or what do you need to talk about it so that we could start to bounce it off of you, maybe, and have a sounding board so that we can understand what we went through as well. And if that's the end of everything, Mom, I love you.
I love you too.
And we're going to be all right.
I know.
And
I
we're
do
going
know
to get
that.
there. Everybody else, peace. Have a good one. Thank you for listening to our show. If you're interested in how we've gotten this far, I've put together a small guide that has a 3-step process at no cost. You can get that at www.iamnotok.com/truth. www.iamnotok.com/TRUTH. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you on the inside. Be well.